Hi, welcome to Steph's World, Spiritual Foundations 17. Now, I changed my profile picture, and there's a reason for it. I just cannot seem to get people to pay attention to very important items besides spirituality, and in a way, they're all connected. Everything's connected to spiritual. We're going to get into some real spiritual stuff in this episode, okay? I'm going to get into politics in a different YouTube. That's going to be another one, and I may do it today too. Now, first of all, I want to talk about my health. What you all see here looks like a healthy, normal woman, right? Wrong. 4.5 years ago, almost, 4.5 years ago, I had a brain aneurysm, and besides all that, prior to that, I had 4 spinal operations. I had my neck broken by a man. My first husband broke my neck. Okay, I was 18 years old. Now, if you read my book, you'll find out all about it because it's the truth. My book speaks only the truth. Now, I try not to be dishonorable to anyone, especially to those who are very close to me, like my own family. But I gotta be honest about what truly happened. And we have to remember, this is my memories and my memories only. It's not my daughter's, it's not my brothers or sisters, nobody else's. And that's what I say in the book or the story or whatever the heck we call it. Okay. Now they don't know what the heck's wrong with me right now. I mean, I got more problems. My spine's a mess. Okay. In reality, I'm a spastic paraplegic. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that sometimes I have absolutely no feeling in some parts of my lower body. Okay. There are times when this leg right here, I could stick a knife in it and not even feel it. Now, in some ways, maybe that's a good thing. Go ahead, stick me. I'm being cute. I really am. I got a sense of humor, honest to God, or honest to something, my creator. Now, here's the deal. I'm writing this book, and it's extremely important right now because I've been getting worse physically. Things are happening to me. And, sometimes a person knows when, not necessarily that they may die, but they know when it's time to get a move on and get down to business. So now it's time. And somebody called me and said, Steph, you need to be more focused. And they're right. I do. So today I'm going to be more focused, and we're going to get right down to business, and we're going to talk about some very important stuff. First of all, the reason I bring the book up is because it talks about some very important stuff. It actually discusses some things that maybe some of you could even relate to if you would just read it. And then I haven't even gotten to the good part, to the part where what I like to call I had my spiritual awakening, where I finally got in touch with my God, and I finally started to realize that all that what seemed to be such horrible things that were happening to me were lessons and life, and that I had to start looking at it that way. Now, hey, just a side note. If the top of my head looks kind of greasy or whatever, oh my God. The neurologist did an EEG on me last Friday. I still can't get the crap they put on top of my head with the 26 things that they put on to measure your brain waves. I can't get it out of my hair. You know, this part of my hair is fine, okay? It's nice and soft, normal. But the top part, shoot, forget that. I was going to put a babushka on or something, but then I thought, there's fantasy stuff. Just forget about that crap and just be who you are, okay? Alright, let's talk about this now. Be who you are, right? How many people really think they know who the hell they are? And excuse my French, okay? But I'm just going to be flat honest with you. How many people think they know who they are? I bet all of you do. I know I did for many, many years. Even after I was drunk as a skunk one Labor Day weekend at the age of 40, got into a fight with a couple of young kids over nothing because I was angry, because I had so much anger pent up inside of me that I went after these kids at 2 o'clock in the morning after I'd been playing pool, drinking, the whole 9 yards. And my beautiful son, who's now no longer with us, who is an Army hero, and that too is a miracle. I raised him. He grew up around hippies and bikers and all kinds of different types of people, let me tell you. And it's amazing how great my children actually turned out. And I don't take the credit for that, believe me. But anyway, they did a neurological test on me, and the gal tells me afterwards, well, when you go home, you're going to have to really work hard to get this stuff out of your hair. That was Friday. It's still in my hair. I figured out, okay, it's just going to have to grow out, you know. It's unbelievable. I don't know what the heck they slide in there, but it's yucky, mucky stuff, okay? And I just ain't gonna worry about it personally. Anyway, let's talk about our childhoods. I'm gonna talk about mine, okay? You know, up to about the age of 3, I thought the world was pretty cool. And I was a normal little girl. I had started walking at 7 months old. Now, not too many babies get up and get it, baby. I'm walking. And I was a teeny tiny little girl. I got pictures of me. The dog towers over this little girl looking up at the dog, okay? He ain't a big dog. It's just that I was a little girl. I think there's a picture on Google Plus of that. And, you know, everybody thinks it's such a big dog. No. It was a little tiny girl. Not probably about 9 months old when that picture was taken. But anyway, I did everything fast as a child, as a baby. I was on my feet. I was ready to go. Fast, fast, fast. You know, I just did not slow down. I don't think I knew what that would even mean, okay? My parents would tell you that I was just a go, go, go little girl. Now, for the first 3 years of my life, everything seemed hunky-dory from what little I can actually remember. I know I was happy. I'm pretty sure of that. And I think that by the grace of God, my parents actually doted on me as their child. I really do. Like most parents would, especially a firstborn. Okay. Now, I hit 3 years old and something happened. Okay. My dad's an Irishman. My mother's a Native American. Now, she ain't full-blooded. She's a quarter Shawnee. And if you look at my face, you can see easily that I got cheekbones that go up to my eye sockets, and that's just the way life is. And her hair will not hold curl, okay? Just doesn't happen. And it's not as thick as it used to be, but it was awfully damn thick most of my life. But anyway, getting on with it. That's what I got from my mother. Now, so I came from an interesting combo here. All right, now my mother didn't practice the Native American way. She didn't do that. She tried to be total white woman, okay, to please my father. You know, I would have loved to have seen my mother find out more about her real family, but she didn't. In fact, she didn't want anything to do with her family, and that was one of the biggest problems of her life. But anyway, it's sad when a child or an adult says, I don't want any part of the people that produced me or brought me into this world. It's real sad. Remember that. Very sad. You have no idea how much it hurts when your child says you can't see your grandchildren. We don't want you to see your grandchildren, even though you've done everything in your power to be the best grandma you try to be for them. But then they turn around and tell you that, okay? I know, it happened to me. Now, we're working on that relationship, okay? But let's get back to the childhood thing. My dad was an Irishman, and I mean a true Irishman, and he was a Southerner too. And I'm going to tell you something. He was as prejudiced as they come. He was prejudiced about every known group of persons in the world. Unless you were another Irishman, or a Welshman, or a Scottishman, or somebody from the UK, you weren't worth anything to my dad. Even though he would not mistreat you in front of you, but the minute you weren't around, he had a name for everybody. Okay? Now, what does a 3-year-old do with a father like that? Okay? A 3-year-old hears all this all the time. So when the trash men came, my dad's calling them when they're not around. My dad has a name for them. When I was 3 years old, I thought that name was their name. I had no idea he was so prejudiced. I didn't even know what prejudice was. I was a 3-year-old. My dad punished me something awful that day. That was the first time I remember my father ever making me feel horribly shameful and guilty over something that he taught me. Now pay attention. Something that he taught me. I would never have done something like that. I was just imitating my daddy. That's all. See, I greeted these men with the name that I thought was their name. I was a friendly child. And I was, how are you doing? You know, and they thought I was just cute as cute can be. Okay? They really did. And, you know, they were just so friendly to me. So I was friendly back to them. But I said a name to them that I will never, ever repeat. Because, you know, all my life I have known how horrible that was. But it wasn't just so much what he did, the name that he used, but it was what he did to me. Now, I'm not angry at my dad. I think all parents do this to their children. And I'm going to cite you another example. You got to remember now, when I did that, see, my father had to face up to, uh-oh, where did she learn that from? Okay, these guys are going to know that some little 3-year-old doesn't know anything about this, that the 3-year-old must have heard it from somewhere, right? Yeah, they knew. So, old Paps, he had to, I call him Paps, he's my dad, he had to quickly do something about it. So what did he do? He picked me up by the back of my little dress and he dragged me up those steps, threw me in my bedroom and said, okay, you're sitting in the bedroom for the rest of the day. Now that was the first time I remember being severely punished for something I had learned from my father. And we call this learning guilt and shame. Okay? That's what we call it. I'm going to ask you something. You ask yourself this. If you have any children, have you ever seen one of your children, either male or female, when they're at a certain age in their babyhood, kind of learn about their private parts themselves? Do you ever interfere and try to tell them, no, we don't do that? You know what you're doing when you're doing that? Have you ever thought about this? You're interfering. They won't continue that. They're just learning about it. They're learning about the bodies. It's just like learning about their hands and their noses and their mouths. You know, really seriously, if you interfere in that, you're going to do something, and it's going to make it really bad. I know, because my parents interfered in something when I was a little bit older, and I was still learning about that, but I was still a little girl. But I was led to believe that that was a nasty thing, we don't do nasty stuff, and we don't touch that area, and we don't learn about that, okay? Shame and guilt. That's what it taught me. Shame and guilt. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about what I did to my daughter when she was, about 2.5 years old. I'll never forget it because it was so horrible that I even did this. And there's some other things I did that were just totally uncalled for as a mother. One morning, I worked nights at that time. That was before I went back to college. I went back to college when my children went off to school. So then it was my turn to go to school. And that's going to be in my book. That's probably coming up in the next part, by the way, or the part after that. I only get 25 pages on Google Drive. But anyway, I worked nights. I was a cocktail waitress at the time, and I was well figured, and I had, I really had talent at what I did because I had a really good memory. And when you're a good cocktail waitress, you remember every single drink at every single table. And when it's so busy that it's unreal, and you still remember that, oh, and you can carry 40 drinks without spilling one of them, and make your way through a crowd holding the tray above your head. You're one hell of a cocktail waitress, let me tell you. And I'm going to tell you something else. You know how to do that, and people put you down, or a woman that's jealous of you, you must ignore it, because that woman has got issues. They don't seem to understand that most cocktail waitresses are out supporting a family, which is exactly what I was doing. So here's the deal. I didn't get home at night until like 3 in the morning. We had to clean the club up after we closed, okay? So I had to get up early every day. I had this little 2.5, 3-year-old girl, my son, he was in school, and my other son wasn't with us at the time. And that's a story for another day. But anyway, I had to get up early, and my ex-husband at the time, he finally found employment, but he had to go to work. Now, he stayed up most of the time, or he was with our daughter to allow me to sleep in as long as possible. But one morning, my daughter decided to be an artist. The only problem was she was an artist all over the walls that I had just painted right before we moved into this nice new townhouse that hardly cost us anything, by the way. And she drew her little pictures all over the part of her room and out into the hallway and everything. And I got up, and she was busy going at it. And I said, "Rachel, stop that right now. Mama worked hard on that. Mama painted that. You can't be drawing on that." And I got real hard on her. Real hard on this tiny little girl. Just real hard. I might even have picked her up and spanked her little bottom for doing that. That's what we do, don't we? Not hard, but enough where my daughter cried, because she felt like she was the worst thing in the world, because her mommy didn't even look at her artwork. No, her mommy was more concerned with her making a mess on what her mommy had painted with a brush that she can simply repaint. So what? But no, I didn't think about that, see, because I didn't have the spiritual training that I do today. Today I would never do that to my child, not ever. Not in a million years. I would tell my child, I would look at it, pay attention to what she'd been drawing. And then after I looked at it, and I compliment her on her work, because, that was important to her. Very important. Because if it wasn't important, why would she have done it? Why would she have gone to the great length that she went to draw first in her bedroom and then move on out into the hallway? That is work for a little 2.5, 3-year-old girl. So, no, what I did was I made my daughter feel guilty and feel shame for something that she may even have had a talent for. A talent. But we'll never know. We'll never know today because I destroyed it. I destroyed any possibility of that little girl knowing whether she had talent for that. Now, she does have a talent. It's in photography. And she found that, thank God, without any help from me, mind you. Now, that shame and guilt, it starts out when we're little. We learn it when we're just little babies. We learn all about shame and guilt. Sure, they cuddle us and they love us and they dote on us, but there's something else that they do too. They teach us about shame and guilt. And that shame and guilt doesn't just go away. It stays with us all the time. And it starts to make you feel kind of bad inside, see. Now, as you go through your childhood, you have a lot of good stuff, hopefully, that does happen to you. But in the back of your head, in your soul, actually, and in your mind, you've still got that stuff back there going, yeah, but, I love the yeah, but, I was a bad girl. I did this and I did that when I was a little girl, and I was a bad girl. Until you get to be a teenager, and then you say, hey, I'm rebelling now, and that's what I did. But we're not there yet, okay? But I want y'all to think about this. Shame and guilt, and this is what we do to ourselves and to our children. Shame and guilt. Those are the two biggest problems that human beings live with in their lives. Shame and guilt. Okay? If I could do it again, which I can't, and then why would I want to? It's over with now. That was my lesson. That is my lesson that I've learned. Okay? It's a lesson, and it's an important lesson. It was one of the most important lessons I ever learned. It was about that shame and guilt, and letting go of that shame and guilt inside of me. Letting go of it. Finding out who I was. But that didn't happen until I was almost 50 years old. Well, it happened a little sooner. I was in my 40s. But my goodness, all those years I lived in terrible shame and guilt, because as my world went on, as I grew up, more things happened. And if you read my book, you're gonna read about it. Now, I didn't understand any of that stuff because I was a child. But all I knew was I was getting my butt beat pretty bad for a lot of times for stuff I had nothing to do with. But that was just the way it was back then. Okay? It really is. That's just how it was. And truthfully, my parents are old. My mother's dying right now. My mother has Alzheimer's. She has absolutely no memory. And if I talked to my father about it, he wouldn't remember it. It's gone. It's over. We can't sit around and think about it all of our lives. Okay, we got to get past all that. We got to let it go. Now there's some steps. There's a process to learning how to do that. The first thing you have to do is you got to write it all down. Now when you write it down, you have to figure out, well, now wait a minute. Did I have a part in this too? Okay, now you might say, well, you were only 3 years old. How could you have a part? Okay, good question. Well, here's where my part came in. Okay, when I was 3 years old and all that happened, now when I was 3, there was nothing. I didn't have a part in it. But when I grew up and I still thought about that and I was angry at my father for so many years for what I perceived as child abuse, that became a big thing in my mind. Somebody put that in my head when I was 38 years old. And after that, for a few years, boy, all I could do was think about what horrible people my parents were. And we call that the blame game, okay? We don't take responsibility for our own stuff, okay? We're too busy blaming them. Oh, well, my parents caused it. Oh, went out and got drunk last night. That was my parents' fault. Yeah, we call that the blame game, okay? Take responsibility for your own stuff, alright? Stop blaming. Stop that right now. Learn from it and stop blaming. Learn from it and don't do that to your own kids. Don't punish them for being children. Punish them, yes, but do it in a better way. And there is a better way. And that's for another discussion. Right now we're going to talk about us and our crap. Okay? What do I mean by crap? I mean our bad stuff that we carry around with us all the time. And you know, it's time to let go of that now. It is time to let go. So when you're filling out this form, and I'm going to give you, next YouTube we do on spirituality, I'm going to give you a form that you and handwrite everything. Don't you dare put it on the computer. Handwrite this stuff out. Basically, the form's going to be like this. You're going to have 4 columns. One of them's going to be, the first one's going to be who. Okay. Now that who could be you. You could be the who. You might have done something stupid yourself. So you could be on the who list too. And then the second column's going to be what. What happened? Nothing huge, not a book, just a simple few sentences of what happened, okay? Then the third column's going to be, okay, emotionally, what did I feel from that? Like, did I feel any guilt? Did I feel anger? Did I feel, just what did I feel from it? Did I feel sad? Okay. Now the fourth column, leave empty. But what that is on the fourth column, it's called my part. Okay. That's that fourth column. Now, what you want to do is you want to find someone who's objective, who is spiritual, who you have faith and, well, not faith, but who you trust, who can be very objective. It could even be your minister or somebody like that. And you sit down with them and you explain to them that they must help you release this guilt and shame that you are carrying with you. And the only way you're going to do that is to identify what caused it. Okay? Then you start working on how to release it. Now, on my list, when I got to my part of it, when I became an adult, I was angry. I felt guilty. I felt shame. And I was angry at my parents, at my father. Anger, terrible anger. The kind that you could almost kill a person anger. Now that's bad, real bad. And that's my part. Sure, when I'm a little girl, I don't have a part. But when I'm a grown up, now I got to take responsibility for that. You get my point? Okay? Now, this whole session is highly, highly important because this is the beginning of self-examination. This is where you have to start. And you don't start with your mother or father. You start with you. You start right here. You don't go other places, okay? Put that beer down. Throw it out. Stop smoking that joint. Stop doing a line. Or put that crack. Throw that crack away. Because, buddy, let me tell you, honey, you're changing your whole personality with that stuff. How do I know? I was married to a crack addict. I know all about it. Let me tell you. I was on the other side of that game. I watched my man I loved with all my heart destroy himself. Absolutely destroy himself. You talk about trying to get off that bad drug. Whew, it's worse than heroin. How do I know about heroin? Hey, I knew a bunch of heroin addicts too. Okay? Yeah, I've been around. Been there, done it. Know about this stuff. You're talking to a woman who's had a heck of a life, let me tell you. But now, I'm with God, man. I'm with God. I got a God in my life. And I found out a few things about God. And I know it's awfully late, but I'm going to read you some things that I picked out. Now, one of my spiritual advisors taught me something. She said, you write down everything I say. Oh boy, that was tough. Okay, so first of all, she said, today, my relationship with God, and then my relationship with me. So, in other words, I got to have a relationship with God, and then I'm going to have a relationship with me. Because God is within me. Second, where's God? Within me. 2, material world is not the answer. 3, I let the wants and needs get in my way of my relationship with God and me. 4, my willingness is a grace of God. 5, I have found God within me, and the great reality is God is. When you think you're an atheist, that's a miracle. Remember that. That's a miracle. Now, I got a few other things here too. I don't know if I really have time to read more of it, but some of it's pretty darn important. Ah, my neediness would be a dishonor to my love for you. I honor you in my love for you. Now, only if I allow myself to be reliant on you to fulfill all of my needs, to quiet my neediness permanently, and only if I put the neediness ahead of my love, that the less I think of myself, the more of a person I become, and the more harmonious our relationships are, by the way. Okay, now that last little thing about if I allow myself to be reliant, we're talking about God. I need to be reliant on God to fulfill all of my needs. Okay? Now, to quiet my neediness, only God can do that permanently. Only God can do that. And the less I think of myself, it's called humility, by the way, the more of a person I become, and the more harmonious our relationships are. And that is a fact. I've lived it. I know that for a fact. You know, one of my problems, there's a lot more here that I'd like to read, but we're getting close to the end here. But one of my biggest problems in life is that I find it hard to keep my big mouth shut. Yes, I do. I think some of you, if you've seen like some of my posts on Google Plus, you'll see, oh man, that woman just posts all kinds of stuff all the time. Some gal said that the other day, and I said, yeah, I do. And sometimes it's an accident. These hands, I don't know if you can tell, but I have the trembles, and sometimes I accidentally, if I use an iPad, I accidentally give a double pose. Okay, I don't mean to do that. All right, I really don't. Now, there's going to be a lot more on this, but I really want to get into the shame and guilt stuff. Okay, because we got to stop doing this right now. We really do. It's got to end. It goes with us all of our lives. And if we don't do something about it, we grow old with it. We get real sick, you know. So I want you to think about this, please. I love you all. Gotta let you go. I'm way past time on this. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.